You probably looked at your bank balance recently and felt a familiar, heavy sinking in your chest. You work incredibly hard. You give your energy to everyone who asks for it. You show up for your friends. You buy the things that make you look like you are doing just fine. Yet at the end of the month, you are running on fumes. You wonder why the math never seems to add up. You tell yourself that maybe if you just hustle a little bit harder, next month things will finally click into place. But deep down you know something is fundamentally broken. The math is not adding up because you are unconsciously bleeding your wealth dry. You are trading pieces of your financial future for the temporary comfort of fitting in today. We are going to look closely at the invisible financial habits that keep your bank account empty and your nervous system completely exhausted. It is time to uncover the silent rules of spending and pretending that actively prevent you from getting ahead. I know exactly how exhausting it is to live in that specific kind of financial survival mode. You wake up on a Tuesday morning, and your brain is already calculating how to stretch your remaining dollars to Friday. You feel that quiet financial dread sitting heavy in your stomach. It makes total sense why you buy that expensive coffee or agree to go to that dinner you cannot afford. When your daily reality feels like a constant struggle with money, you desperately crave tiny moments of feeling normal. You want to look around the table and feel like you belong and like you are not falling behind. So you swipe your card and ignore the consequences. We spend money to maintain an image because the alternative feels too painful to face. We use our spending as a shield to hide our exhaustion from the world. And it is not just about the money you spend on Friday night. It is the weekends you give away to relationships that leave you feeling entirely depleted both emotionally and financially. You say yes to favors and expensive outings because you want to be seen as reliable and generous. You give away your hours and your dollars like they are completely worthless. Then you sit alone on Sunday night feeling utterly drained and afraid to open your banking app. You realize you have no time and no funds left to actually build your own life. You are caught in a cycle of performing for others while your own financial foundation is crumbling. You trade your finite energy and hard-earned money to keep everyone else comfortable while you silently panic about rent. We convince ourselves that this is just how life works. We assume everyone else is secretly struggling just as much, so we keep playing along. We hide the unpaid bills and smile for the photos. But pretending to be wealthy is the exact thing guaranteeing we stay broke. We tell ourselves that sacrificing our time and our resources is just part of being a good person. We think that putting others first, even financially, will eventually lead to some kind of reward. We believe that caring about money makes us greedy. But this belief is a quiet and devastating trap. This cycle of constantly giving away your resources is exactly what keeps you stuck in the exact same place year after year. We have to gently dismantle this idea that your time is cheap and your financial boundaries are selfish. Think about your daily energy and your income as a small, fragile glass of water. Every single morning you wake up with this glass containing your potential wealth for the day. This water is the only resource you have to water your own financial garden. It is all you have to build your wealth and protect your peace and secure your future. But instead of pouring it carefully onto your own roots, you start walking around handing out drops to everyone you see. You give a splash to a friend who only wants to hang out if it involves spending money. You spill some by worrying about what your neighbors think of your car, so you take on a larger car payment. You pour a huge amount into buying clothes and gadgets to impress people you barely even like. By the time you get home, there is nothing left in the glass. Your own financial garden is completely dry. We have been conditioned to believe that pouring our water onto everyone else is noble. We think that protecting our glass makes us inherently selfish or ungenerous. But this is one of the most damaging lies we tell ourselves about wealth. Protecting your resources is not a selfish act. It is an act of strategic preservation. It is the only way you survive and eventually thrive. If your garden dies, you have absolutely nothing left to offer the world anyway. We have to recognize the deep connection between our time and our health and our wealth. When money gets tight, we often panic and trade our health for a one-day wage. We take on brutal extra shifts that destroy our sleep and our bodies just to pay the rent this month. We tell ourselves we are being responsible, but we lack the cognitive knowledge that our long-term health and energy are worth infinitely more than that single day of wages. That desperate generosity of giving your physical health away to an employer will cost you dearly in the end. True wealth requires the energy to build systems, not just the physical labor to survive the week. You have to completely shift how you value your own existence. You need to look at your time and say this is worth more than idle gossip or aimless scrolling. You need to look at your bank account and realize it is a tool for your freedom and not a prop to entertain other people. You have to recognize the profound difference between an expense that drains you and an investment that builds you. Buying things to maintain an appearance is a financial liability. It actively pulls water out of your glass every single day. Guarding your time to rest or learn a new skill or simply breathe is a true asset. It allows your water to replenish and your wealth to slowly grow. The moment you decide your glass belongs to you, the heavy weight of financial expectations simply drops away. So how do we actually apply this new understanding to our daily financial lives? We have to start tracking exactly where the water is leaking out of the glass. Most people have absolutely no idea where their money is actually going. They do not track their in and out funds. They do not track their time. They just close their eyes and tap their credit card and hope everything works out by the end of the month. But hope is a terrible strategy for building a secure life. You cannot fix a leak if you refuse to look at the pipes. We avoid looking at our bank statements because it feels like looking at our own failures. Because somehow you'll see you've been charged $100 for a late credit card payment. You need to establish a very simple system to observe your own behavior without any judgment. This is not about feeling guilty or punishing yourself for buying a coffee. This is about becoming intensely aware of your own choices. For the next week, find an expense time tracking app. Record every single thing you spend money on. Track every single hour you give to someone else. You will be shocked by what you discover. You will see how much currency flows into subscriptions you never use. You will notice how many dollars evaporate into keeping up appearances. You will see clearly that you are spending on unnecessary items that you could easily eliminate or find cheap alternatives for. Once you see the leaks, clearly you can begin the process of radical boundary allocation. This is where you draw a hard line around your necessities. A necessity is something that genuinely sustains your life and your future wealth. Food and shelter and basic transportation are obvious necessities. But quiet time to recover is also a necessity. Investing a few dollars in a book or a course that increases your earning power is a necessity. Everything else is just noise. This is the fundamental difference in how different groups handle their resources. People who stay poor spend their money to keep up appearances. They buy liabilities that lose value the second they are purchased just to look the part. People who build true wealth spend their money on actual necessities and assets. They do not care if their car is 5 years older than their neighbor's. They care that their money is working for them in the background. They understand that every dollar spent to impress a stranger is a dollar stolen from their own financial freedom. We often stay stuck because we cannot tell the difference between an asset and a liability. We buy a new phone on a payment plan and think we acquired an asset. But that phone is actively taking money out of our pocket every single month. It is a liability dressed up as a reward. True wealth is built by quietly accumulating things that put energy and money back into your life. It is built by eliminating the expenses that serve no purpose other than validating your ego. Imagine how much lighter you would feel if you cut out just 3 unnecessary expenses this month. Imagine taking that exact amount of money and putting it away for your own peace of mind. You are not just saving currency. You are buying yourself a tiny piece of future freedom. You are telling yourself that you don't rely on external materials to prove your worth. You are proving to yourself that you are in control. But drawing these financial boundaries requires you to face a very specific fear. When you become more self-centered with your resources, people will notice. When you stop spending money to keep up appearances, people might judge you. When you stop going to expensive dinners, they might call you cheap. You have to be completely okay with their reaction. You have to let them misunderstand your journey. Their opinion of your lifestyle is a liability that you can no longer afford to carry. Every time you say no to a useless obligation or a superficial purchase, you are paying yourself a dividend. You are redirecting your attention to your priorities. It takes incredible courage to be disciplined when the entire world wants you to be distracted and broke. But the cost of remaining distracted is a lifetime of financial anxiety. If you do not track your energy and your money, the system will gladly extract it all from you. You have the power to stop the financial bleeding right now. You do not need a massive salary to begin this process. You just need the willingness to look at your own spending habits with honest eyes. Start small and practice saying no to one draining request this week. Look at your bank statement today and find one expense you can permanently eliminate. Each tiny action rebuilds your confidence and seals a crack in your financial foundation. You are learning how to be the architect of your own security. We have spent so much of our lives believing that our worth is tied to the car we drive or the rounds of drinks we can buy. We thought that keeping up with everyone else was the only way to feel valuable. But now we see the truth behind the illusion. Spending money you do not have does not make you successful. It just makes you tired and stressed and incredibly vulnerable. You now understand that true wealth is not about flashy cars or designer labels. True wealth is having the quiet autonomy to protect your own peace. It is waking up and knowing that your bank account is a sturdy vault and not a leaking bucket. You have permission to step away from the noise and focus entirely on your own growth. You have permission to be fiercely protective of your time and your health and your money. Tomorrow morning you are going to wake up with a full glass of water. The world will immediately start asking you for drops. But this time you are going to pause before you pour. You are going to look closely at where your currency is going. You are going to ask yourself if this transaction builds your future or simply drains your present. The path forward requires you to plant your own seeds in protected soil. When you finally stop paying the invisible price of pleasing others, the math will finally start working in your favor. What would happen if you decided today that your financial peace of mind is the most expensive thing you own? Think about what you could build if you kept your resources entirely for yourself. We're going to explore how to invest that reclaimed energy and money very soon. Keep guarding your glass until we meet again.